Hey Owsley Panthers, this is Coach Strong presenting you with your next video for the chemistry unit. This video will cover atoms and the periodic table, focusing specifically on atomic structure and atomic math. Remember that when you're watching the video, you can pause it at any time, write down what you see, write down what you hear. I'll let you know what pictures you need to draw. Okay, so let's talk about the atom. Don't worry about the pictures, just make sure you get the information down. The atom is the smallest particle of an element that retains or keeps the element's chemical properties. There are two main parts within the atom. There's the nucleus, which is in the center, and the electron cloud, which surrounds the nucleus. There are also three subatomic particles within the atom. There are protons, neutrons, and electrons. Okay, so the information here discusses the three subatomic particles within an atom. You will need to draw this picture, and you should label it either by drawing arrows to the table that you're going to copy into your journal, or you can label them on the picture itself. But the three subatomic particles are protons, neutrons, and electrons. In this table you can see the charges of each: positive, neutral, and negative. Protons and neutrons are located inside the nucleus, and they have about the same mass, which is 1 atomic mass unit, or AMU. Electrons are outside of the nucleus in the electron cloud, and they are a lot smaller than your protons and neutrons, about 1/1800th atomic mass unit. Some other information about protons is that they determine the identity of an element, so each element has a specific number of protons, and that is how you can tell what it is. Something about the neutron is that it's slightly larger than protons, but only slightly, so it's so close that they still have the same atomic mass. And something about the electrons is that they move very quickly around the nucleus, so fast in fact that with the speed they're going it's hard to pinpoint exactly where they are at a given time. Alright, moving on to some periodic table basics. The image you see here is a periodic table. No, you do not have to write it down. You will get plenty of them in class. Some things to know about the periodic table. We will go into a deeper discussion on it in class, but you should know that all known elements are arranged on the periodic table. Each element has its own particular space or box on the periodic table, and that elements can be added to the periodic table as they're discovered. So the periodic table that we were using 10 years ago is not the same as the one that we're using today. Okay, let's talk about reading a box on the periodic table. I do want you to write down the information and go ahead and draw this example of nitrogen. You can either draw arrows or circle it and label it like I do. Either way, you should have everything you see here written in your journal. So, the first thing that you'll probably notice is the number in the top left corner. That's the atomic number, which is the number of protons in the nucleus. For nitrogen, the atomic number is 7. You'll also notice a symbol, which can be 1 or 2 letters used to represent the element. It's an abbreviation for the common or Latin name. For nitrogen, that is a capital N. Then you have the name, which is the element's common name, or nitrogen. And you have the atomic mass, which is the mass of one atom of that element. In this case, 14.007. Also important is the mass number, which you may or may not see on different periodic tables. The mass number is the rounded atomic mass. So for nitrogen, you would round 14.007 to 14 for the mass number. Okay, let's get into some atomic math. I'm going to use nitrogen as your example again, so make sure that you get this all written down. So the atomic number is equal to the number of protons and also equal to the number of electrons, which is how we get a stable and neutral overall charge for our atom. In the case of nitrogen, your atomic number is 7, which means you have 7 protons and 7 electrons. Now the mass number is equal to the protons plus the neutrons. So in the case of nitrogen, the mass number is 14, and your protons, based on the atomic number, is 7, you can use that information to get the number of neutrons. This is a fairly easy number, so you can probably tell that nitrogen has 7 neutrons. Now, we have a really fun acronym that we use to help us remember atomic math, or at least this basic atomic math that you learned in 8th grade. That is 8-MAN. Atomic number equals number of protons and equals number of electrons. And for man, mass number minus atomic number equals number of neutrons. Make sure you get this acronym written in your journal. It will be very helpful when we start doing atomic math in class. Alright, time to try some atomic math on your own. Go ahead and pause the video. See if you can figure out the atomic number, mass number, protons, neutrons, and electrons for lithium. I'm assuming that you paused the video, so now I'm going to give you the answers. The atomic number for lithium is 3, which you could get right there. The mass number is the rounded atomic mass, so for lithium, 6.9 would round to 7. The number of protons is equal to the atomic number, which is 3. The neutrons is the mass number minus the number of protons, so 7 minus 3 equals 4 neutrons. And remember, the electrons is the same as the protons, so there are 3 electrons as well. How'd you do? Don't worry if you didn't do well. We will practice this in class. Alright, so that wraps up your video on atoms. Remember, watch it as many times as you need to. And remember that we will have a note check on Friday. Be sure to have your notes ready to go, and if you have any questions, let me know.